A major victory for Donald Trump as the U.S. Supreme Court rules he can run for president in Colorado. The former president calls the decision a great day for the country. The day was not so great for a former Trump executive. Alan Weisselberg pleads guilty to perjury in connection with testimony he gave in the ex-president's civil fraud case. The man accused of leaking documents of classified information online is heading to prison for that crime. At least 10 immigrants are in the hospital today after falling off the border wall in San Diego. NTD's Arian Pazdar will bring us a live update from the border. The explosive growth of cross-border e-commerce has caught the attention of U.S. lawmakers, casting a spotlight on a tax rule that critics say has allowed packages from China to enter the U.S. duty-free. Bankrate reports today that half of Americans surveyed were denied a loan or other financial product since the Federal Reserve began raising interest in March 2022. NTD's Andrew Thomas speaks with the report's author to learn more. Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. Former President Donald Trump gets the go-ahead from the U.S. Supreme Court that he can remain on Colorado's ballot for the November election. The unanimous decision by the court rules that only Congress has the authority to determine what persons can run or hold federal office, not the states. Joining us now live is NTD's Iris Tao from Palm Beach, Florida. Iris, former President Donald Trump just spoke from Mar-a-Lago in response to the Supreme Court's decision. Tell us more.
Good afternoon to you, Steph. You're right. Former President Trump, speaking right behind us right here at Mar-a-Lago, celebrated today's Supreme Court decision while calling it extremely important and one that would, quote, unify the country. And today's decision by the Supreme Court will reverberate across the country as it effectively resolves the ballot challenges for Trump, not only in Colorado, but also in other states like Illinois and Maine, where there have been similar attempts to take Trump off the ballot. In fact, the state of Maine has just now confirmed Trump's eligibility to stay on the ballot there now. And Trump, aside from thanking the Supreme Court justices for today's decision, also called on them to side with him in another case, and that's involving whether Trump has presidential immunity in the Justice Department's election interference case. Here's what Trump was saying today. Watch.
And another thing that will be coming up very soon will be immunity for a president, and not immunity for me, but for any president. If a president doesn't have full immunity, you really don't have a president, because nobody that is serving in that office will have the courage to make, in many cases, what would be the right decision, or it could be the wrong decision. It could be, in some cases, the wrong decision, but they have to make decisions, and they have to make them free of all terror that can be rained upon them when they leave office or even before they leave office.
The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments about Trump's immunity claim next month. Meanwhile, today's decision involving Trump's ballot eligibility comes right before Super Tuesday, which is when 16 states and territories are set to hold their primaries or caucuses. And tomorrow night on Tuesday, former President Trump will be watching the results and giving a speech afterwards at here Mar-a-Lago, from where we will be providing you with live coverage. Back to you, Steph.
Iris, thank you for that report. And in another court case related to former President Trump, Alan Weisselberg, the once chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, pleaded guilty Monday in New York to perjury. Weisselberg will spend 5 months in jail after prosecutors say he lied under oath during questioning in Trump's fraud trial. This is a new case against the former chief financial officer, and it comes weeks before Trump is scheduled to stand trial on separate allegations that he falsified business records to cover up hush money payments, money that was allegedly paid during the 2016 campaign to hide that he had extramarital sexual encounters. Trump has pleaded not guilty and denies wrongdoing. And presidential candidate Nikki Haley won Washington, D.C.'s GOP primary yesterday, ending former President Trump's undefeated winning streak. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on Haley's win.
Great to see everybody. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley secured her first GOP primary win in D.C. Sunday with over 62% of the vote. Trump received 33%. The district is deep blue, with 92% voting for President Biden in 2020. Haley picks up 19 delegates, bringing her total up to 43. Trump has roughly 240 delegates heading into Super Tuesday, when around a third of the GOP delegates will be at stake. The D.C. Republican Party ran a closed primary this year, where only registered Republicans could vote. Haley's campaign on X stated Republicans closest to Washington dysfunction are rejecting chaos and division after the win. Trump on Truth Social said he wasn't concerned about D.C. because it has very few delegates and no upside. He criticized Haley for wasting time and money there. Haley told NBC over the weekend she no longer feels bound by her pledge to the Republican National Committee to support the GOP nominee due to changes in the RNC, along with keeping any thoughts of losing away while running. Haley told voters in Vermont Sunday she's determined to stay in the race.
When 70% of Americans say they don't want Donald Trump or Joe Biden, yes, I'm going to keep on fighting.
Trump in 2016 received less than 14% of the vote and no delegates in D.C. as he went on to win the GOP nomination. D.C.'s Democratic primary will be held in June. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
The battleground state of North Carolina will be the one to watch on Super Tuesday. Primary voters there are weighing in on what their major concerns are ahead of tomorrow's contest. That's as Trump's followers express their support for the Republican frontrunner at his rally over the weekend.
Wilbur's Barbecue in Goldsboro, North Carolina has been a draw for hungry patrons and politicians for years. Both Bill Clinton and George W. Bush Sr. have campaigned at the restaurant in the past. Here's what diners there are saying about top election issues ahead of Super Tuesday.
I think that immigration is a key issue for most Americans right now. And I think that it's a big problem. And the next one would be inflation. A lot of families are suffering because of inflation.
Well, immigration, government, I think, is out of control. Crime is another. Those are the three big issues.
Really just cost of living. And 4 years ago, well, 8 years ago, I was in a pretty good spot but this last presidential term has not been. So that's what I'd like to see.
And in Greensboro, supporters of former President Trump were out in force at his Saturday rally.
He just tells it how it is. I mean, it's not sugar-coated. So I know a lot of people don't care for his personality, but if you have to look at the policies and what's best for us as Americans.
We are coming to support a man that has been brave enough to withstand all kinds of persecution. And I love him. I don't care what anybody says about him. I freaking love him.
This man from Texas said the immigration crisis is at the top of his mind.
Like I said, my house is 2 miles from the border, and it's just people are just coming across. You know, there's no vetting, so we don't know who these people are.
North Carolina is the only battleground state to vote on Super Tuesday. In 2020, Trump won the state over President Biden by just 1.3 percentage points, about 75,000 votes, the closest margin in any of the states that he won.
And be sure to join us tomorrow for Super Tuesday. NTD News will be following the voting across the 15 states holding primaries. We'll have a lot prepared for you, including special guests, on-the-ground coverage, and the Data Hub. Join Steve Lance and Tiffany Meyer on The Nation Decides 2024, live tomorrow, March 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And next up, a controversial Texas law that allows law enforcement to arrest and detain people they believe have come into the country illegally is set to begin this week. That's if the Biden administration doesn't take the case to the U.S. Supreme Court. A federal appeals court says a Texas law that would help stop the flow of illegal immigrants crossing the southern border can stand. The law, signed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, was blocked by Judge David Allen Ezra, who wrote that allowing the Texas State Senate law would open the door for other states to write their own immigration laws. The state argues the new ban does not interfere with the current federal immigration law. Opponents say the law would allow for racial profiling, the detention and possible deportation of Latinos in the state. And at least 10 immigrants are in the hospital today after falling off the border wall in San Diego. NTD's Arian Pazdar joins us now live. Arian, what condition are they in? We're going
to start now, Adam.
Arian, what condition are they in?
That's right, guys. So the 10 immigrants fell off this very tall border wall here in San Diego, and local officials actually described this as a mass casualty event. Now, fortunately, nobody died. The worst injuries were broken bones. The immigrants had to be taken to local hospitals so they can get treated for their injuries. And this is, of course, a terrible situation for them to be in, right? Such an injury. But it also affects local communities. Now, that is because many of the immigrants can't pay the medical bill, and so taxpayers end up paying for it. I spoke with Bill Wells. He's the mayor of El Cajon, a city right next to San Diego, and he told me that this whole immigration crisis is taking a huge toll on California. Take a look.
If you come over and you're an illegal immigrant in San Diego, we're going to give you a free attorney to help with your immigration status. We're going to give you free health care. If you want to have a sex change operation, we're going to pay for that. Flooded the hospitals and the school systems and the Social Security office and the welfare office. Everything is at its breaking point. And you now say, let's add another 1,000 people a day just to San Diego.
So you just heard the mayor talk about 1,000 drop-offs a day. So he is referring to Border Patrol processing and releasing around 1,000 immigrants per day in San Diego.
All right, thank you so much for that report, Arian. And now changing track, if you're wondering why products from Chinese retailers across the Pacific are so cheap, that package delivered to your doorstep could have dodged all U.S. duties and taxes. How does that work? Let's take a closer look.
Cheap products from China are landing in U.S. mailboxes tariff-free thanks to a trade law. It's called the de minimis rule, and it allows parcels valued at $800 to enter the U.S. duty-free as long as they're shipped to individuals. Over 1 billion de minimis packages came through the U.S. Customs last year, a 646% increase in just 8 years.
China is responsible for quite a significant portion of the e-commerce small packages that are coming into the United States.
LaFonda Sutton-Burke leads a U.S. Customs and Border Protection office that oversees one of the nation's busiest ports for de minimis parcels. Data shows China is the biggest source of retail packages entering the U.S., accounting for the bulk of nearly 3 million small parcels that come through customs every day under the de minimis rule. As a result, those packages would probably not have undergone U.S. Customs or safety inspections.
When we're talking about just the 1 billion shipments, we're talking about a variety. You know, where it's ranging from anything to pill press die sets that people were utilizing to make, fentanyl that is devastating our communities. But we're also talking about, fake or counterfeit jewelry.
De minimis was originally meant to reduce processing burdens on low-value imports. But with the U.S. de minimis value skyrocketing to $800 in 2016, the policy is leading to an explosion of these kinds of shipments. In contrast, China has set its de minimis at a much lower rate, just $10. Virginia Gibson, NTD News.
And the suspect in the Pentagon leak, Jack Teixeira, has agreed to a 16-year prison sentence. This is according to the plea agreement filed with the court. The filing shows that Teixeira will plead guilty to all 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of national defense information. In exchange, he will not face charges under the Espionage Act. The 22-year-old is a former member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. He was accused of the biggest leak of classified Pentagon documents in years. He started posting them in 2022 on the social media platform Discord. Teixeira has been held in federal custody since his arrest in April last year. He previously pleaded not guilty to the charges. And BlackRock admits embracing ESG could materially hurt its core business. In a regulatory filing, it says regulators, officials, clients, all are increasingly scrutinizing the firm's practices. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. The group's supporters say it's a set of criteria that evaluates companies' ethics and sustainability. Consumers Research's Will Hild says it's a facade for companies who push a left-wing political agenda. He says the pushback on ESG has grown to the point that BlackRock has to acknowledge it.
This certainly isn't something BlackRock wanted to admit to, but their compliance attorneys are saying, listen, you have all of these states taking aggressive action towards you because of your ESG activities. You need to admit that, because if something were to happen to the company later because of that, you're going to be sued for having not notified investors of that.
Part of the ESG agenda includes promoting a decarbonization agenda, pro-abortion rights, and diversity, equity, and inclusion in corporate America. BlackRock reportedly has an ESG portfolio valued at $700 billion. It says many have negative views toward these topics. Some states, such as Texas, have even banned government entities from doing business with the company. It's also at risk of being sued. BlackRock says all this may hurt its reputation. It may hurt its ability to attract and retain clients, employees, and business partners. It may hurt its ability to do business in general. And probably most important of all, it may hurt earnings. When we come back, General Motors is recalling nearly 820,000 pickup trucks over a potential safety issue involving tailgates. Find out what models are included. And Americans are being denied credit due to the effects of the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes since March 2022. Bankrate reports that half of borrowers couldn't get loans or other financial products in the last 2 years.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and this is my story. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, or brittle bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me. I love to bike ride, climb, race, and I'm learning how to stand and walk. But I can only do all of this because of generous people like you and Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children has helped more than 1.3 million kids just like me, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Shriners Hospitals for Children is only able to provide this world-class, life-changing medical care because of the generous gifts of people just like you.
Because of you, I can ride my bike. I can play basketball.
Because of people like you, I can run.
I can smile.
Will you send your love to the rescue today?
When you go to loveshriners.org right now and give just 63 cents a day, you're helping kids just like me.
Like me. Like me. When you give today, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and a reminder of the love you gave to a kid just like me.
Your gift, no matter how small, can help a child today.
This is your moment to make a difference.
When you pick up your phone, I know you have it right there, and call to give. You're helping kids like me. Thank you. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, please call again or give right away at loveshriners.org.
Your gift makes a difference. Thank you for giving.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Today, NATO member Albania, which has no fighter jets of its own, opens a rebuilt Soviet-era airbase to serve NATO aircraft amid an increased threat from Russia. NATO has spent over 50 million euros. That's 54.26 million US dollars or thereabouts on the Kukova airbase to bolster its presence in the region. Airspace in the Adriatic country of Albania, which borders Greece to the south and Montenegro to the north, is protected by Italy and Greece. The airbase is located in the small town of Kukova, once known as Stalin City, when Soviet and Chinese-made MiGs were on standby for orders to scramble in the case of a war with the West that never arrived. The likely targets then were Austria, Germany, Italy, and Denmark. Albania, which joined NATO in 2009, is also in talks with NATO to build a naval base on the Adriatic coast. And the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates for 2 years now, and Americans are feeling the effects. A bank rate survey published today shows that half of borrowers have been denied a loan or other financial product since March 2022. NTD's Andrew Thomas spoke with the author of the report to learn more.
Americans are struggling to borrow amid the Fed's current interest rate of between 5.25 and 5.5%. Bankrate reports that 19% of credit card applications have been denied since March 2022.
What we did ask respondents is whether they feel like their access to credit has gotten harder since the Fed began raising interest rates. And we did see that very few people say that it's easier today, and 21% say that it's harder for them to access credit.
Even borrowers with a good credit score are facing difficulties.
And even more than half of those with good credit, 55% of those with good credit were denied for a loan that they applied for. And I think that is really what stands out to me the most.
More than 80% of respondents denied a loan or financial product since the Fed began raising interest rates say it has been detrimental to their personal finances. Almost a third report feeling more stress.
Simply put, when interest rates rise, so do financing costs. I think we've seen that specifically with mortgage rates. Suddenly, that $500,000 house that you were to finance back when rates were at a record low is costing almost $2,000 more a month.
How did the bank failures of 2023 impact borrowers' ability to take out a loan or get another financial product?
Yeah, so in the aftermath of the bank failures, which are coming up on the 1-year anniversary, we did see credit tighten significantly. And I think a lot of the reasons why is banks have some losses on their books just simply by holding some longer dated assets that they purchased when rates were low. And in order to hang on to more capital, they ultimately decide to lend money out less.
What can we expect from the Fed's next meeting?
So I think March is going to look like a meeting where Powell is going to stress that the Fed is not ready to cut interest rates. It'll be interesting because we'll see what other officials on the central bank are expecting, because we'll get refreshed projections from all of them.
Foster says if interest rates remain between 5.25 and 5.5%, potential borrowers will continue to experience difficulties.
So I think right now the story is really kind of business as usual. We're in kind of a holding pattern with rates. And really until the Fed starts cutting interest rates, this environment of tighter credit could persist.
The Fed will meet March 19th through the 20th. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A measure to block China from buying oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and a major American automaker recalling nearly 1 million vehicles. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's business brief.
Thank you very much, Steph. So a new measure in funding legislation was introduced by congressional leaders yesterday, and it is going to block China from buying oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR. And taking a hard line against China is actually one of the very few issues garnering bipartisan support. And the issue of SPR sales to China heated up after President Biden announced a sale of 180 million barrels of SPR oil in 2022. The sale now was intended to tame spiking gasoline prices after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That year, the SPR sold 1 million barrels to Unipec America, a Houston-based arm of China's Sinopec. The SPR currently holds more than 360 million barrels of oil, but is close to 40-year lows due to those sales back in 2022. U.S. oil companies also sold 83 million barrels of oil to China in 2022. The over 1,000-page bill lays out funding for 6 of the 12 segments of the government Congress is charged with allocating money for. A bill for the other 6 segments are due by later this month. The House will vote on the bill before the Senate can take up the package before Friday. And besides that, we have a major recall to pass along. General Motors is recalling nearly 820,000 pickup trucks. GM says the issue surrounds the electronic latch mechanism used to open the gate of some Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra truck beds. The automaker says if water gets into the tailgate, the mechanism used to keep it closed might short circuit. The pickup trucks involved include the 2020 to 2024 model years. And finally, low-cost rivals JetBlue Airways and Spirit Airlines have agreed to call off their $3.8 billion merger agreement on Monday. And this comes after a U.S. judge blocked the deal on anti-competition concerns. JetBlue's CEO said, quote, "Given the hurdles, we decided together that both airlines' interests are better served by moving forward independently." A ruling by U.S. District Judge William Young found the proposed deal was likely to hurt competition in the U.S. aviation market and could harm ticket sales. And this is actually what prompted JetBlue to raise doubts over the future of its deal, saying that it might actually be unable to meet certain conditions required as part of the agreement. That's all from me. Back to you, Steph.
Great. Thanks, Don. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. We'll have more stories on NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 Pacific.